Hello everyone, let's go over this multiple choice question about the light independent reactions. Before we actually jump into the question, let's just do a quick review of what we're going to see in this question. Remember that we have two different types of reactions in photosynthesis. We have the light dependent reactions that obviously need light. They also need water as well. They produce NADPH and ATP. These two molecules are like taxis for energy that are going to go to the Calvin cycle or the light independent reactions. That Calvin cycle is going to use NADPH and ATP along with carbon dioxide to make sugar. So this whole process is basically capturing energy and then using it to make CO2 into sugar. The question reads, if photosynthesizing green algae are provided with CO2 synthesized with an isotope of carbon 12. Later analysis will show that all but one of the following compounds produced by the algae contain the C12 label. Wow, there's a lot of words there. Don't freak out. Which of the following compounds would not contain the isotope of carbon? Okay, so remember we just talked about this. We said that the carbon dioxide that plants use is going to be made into sugar. This question is saying, hey, there's this photosynthesizing green algae. Green algae doesn't mean anything here, just it goes through photosynthesis. It's provided with this isotope of carbon 12. So that basically this isotope is saying, hey, we're tagging this carbon in the carbon dioxide with a special type of molecule that's going to allow us to identify it. It says later analysis will show that all but one, so 4 out of the 5 answers here are going to have this carbon 12. Only one of the answers isn't going to have this carbon 12. So in my brain, I'm thinking, okay, 4 of these answers are going to be within that Calvin cycle. Which one of these molecules is not within the carbon cycle itself? So if you don't have the Calvin cycle memorized, I'm going to show it to you right here, but this is something you should probably be able to at least kind of think about when you're working through these questions. If you look here, we have 3-PGA is going to be made from when CO2 bonds with RUBP. This process is done by the enzyme Ribisco. It's going to be made into this 6-carbon compound that's breaking down into 2 of these 3-PGAs like I just talked about. These 3-PGAs are going to be converted into these G3Ps. And then some of these G3Ps are going to be made back into RUBP, but some are going to be made into a glucose. So with that being said, let's look at our answers. 3-PGA. Yeah, we find that right here. So that's not the answer. G3P. Yeah, we find that right here. That's not the answer. Glucose. Yeah, we find that right here. That's not the answer. RUBP. Yeah, we find that right here. That's not the answer. Ribisco. Even though we find Ribisco right here, it's not a part of this whole cycle. It's the enzyme that helps this cycle be completed. However, it's not a part of this cycle and it doesn't have these carbon compounds that are from these CO2 molecules. So even though this Ribisco is a part of this whole cycle, it's a protein, it's an enzyme. Ribisco is that special enzyme that takes this carbon dioxide and fixes it within this RUBP to make this 6-carbon molecule. So again, even though Ribisco interacts with this cycle, it's not actually going to be made of these carbon strands or this carbon backbone that all of these other molecules are. So that's why E is the right answer.